This is an apple. Some people might try to tell you that it's a banana. They might scream banana, banana, banana over and over and over again. They might put banana in all caps. You might even start to believe that this is a banana. But it's not. This is an apple.
If you do the math associated with all the electoral votes from all of the states, if they go that way, if the lean Republican and likely Republican go red, and the lean Democrat and likely Democrat go blue, if you sign those out that way, and then you say that Donald Trump has the best day in the entire world, completely outperforms expectations, and he wins all of the toss-up states. He wins all 5 of those states, plus that electoral college vote in Maine that he's after. If he wins all of the toss-ups, which would be insane because nobody wins all of the toss-up states, even if Donald Trump did win all of the toss-up states, he would still lose. In the latest Pew National poll that just came out, yeah, sure, Hillary Clinton is beating Donald Trump overall, nationwide, no big deal, 9 points. We've seen this before.
There's not going to be a President Donald Trump. That's not going to happen.
Donald Trump will not become president.
He's not going to be president. Donald Trump is not going to be president of the United States. Take it to the bank. Okay. I guarantee it.
All right. So when you stand and deliver that State of the Union address, in no part of your mind or brain can you imagine Donald Trump standing up one day and delivering State of the Union address?
Well, I can imagine it in a Saturday night skit. I continue to believe Mr. Trump will not be president.
He will never be president of the United States.
And we better be ready for the fact that he might be leading the Republican ticket next. I know you don't believe that, but I want to go on to write it down.
Sorry to laugh.
Which Republican candidate has the best chance of winning the general election?
Of the declared ones, right now, Donald Trump.
Donald Trump will never be elected president of the United States.
Can I just cut through? I have one thing to say, one thing only. And that is that this race is over. Tomorrow morning, the money will dry up. The Republicans will start to hide. Trump has no place to go. This race, effectively, as of tonight, is no longer a presidential race.
President Obama will go down as perhaps the worst president in the history of the United States! Exclamation point at real Donald Trump. Well, at real Donald Trump. At least I will go down as a president.
So basically, this is the beginning of the end for Trump. The beginning of the end.
Beginning of the end?
Probably starting of the beginning of the end for Donald Trump. So right now we have Hillary's about a 75 or an 80% favorite with different versions of the forecast you look at.
Poll has Hillary up by double digits nationally, 12 points, 50 to 38 in full-way race.
Clinton leading in Florida, Clinton leading in North Carolina, Clinton leading in Ohio, Clinton leading in Nevada. I could go on and on and on.
Their major projection right now, Donald Trump will take Ohio. Actually, that projects Donald Trump will carry the state of Florida. Huge win for Donald Trump. Donald Trump, while we project, will win in Kentucky, in Indiana, with its 11 electoral votes. West Virginia, Tennessee, Mississippi, South Carolina, Alabama, North Dakota, with its 3 electoral votes, and South Dakota, Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, the state of Montana, North Carolina, Georgia, Iowa, Utah, Wisconsin, Arizona, Kansas, with its 6 electoral votes, Nebraska with its 5 electoral votes, and Wyoming with its 3 electoral votes.
Sorry to keep you waiting, complicated business.
You're awake, by the way. You're not having a terrible, terrible dream. Also, you're not dead and you haven't gone to hell. This is your life now. This is our election now. This is us. This is our country. It's real.
Oh, the Clinton campaign believed until 9 o'clock that they had a lock on this, that they were going to win. The fault of that actually lies with the media. And there's some self-reflection. Jim Rutenberg today writes a fascinating article where the New York Times editor and others basically come to terms with the fact that they stopped being journalists over the past month and began being cheerleaders and began being people who had a conclusion that they reached and then searched for facts to show that Hillary Clinton was a 92, 93, 99.999% chance winner of winning this campaign.
Well, how else would you explain it except that they were searching for those facts? I'm wondering, I mean, was it a big aberration or?
No, it wasn't a big aberration. It was there the entire time. They didn't want to hear it. They didn't want to see it, and I will just say it. When people like Mark, us, Nate Silver, even, I want you guys to think about this. At the Times and the Washington Post, people I know and love, I want you to think about this. That when anybody even made the suggestion that Donald Trump could be elected president of the United States, it was their journalistic standards that were questioned. When Mark Halperin suggested that there was a pathway forward for Donald Trump as president of the United States, I won't name names because so many of them are my friends, and there's no need to name names now. The time for recrimination is over. But reporters at some of the best newspapers in the world, anchors at some of the best news networks in the world, mocked and ridiculed Mark Halperin. I want you to think about this. They mocked and ridiculed him not for saying that Donald Trump was going to be elected president of the United States. They mocked and ridiculed him for saying there was a slight chance that Donald Trump could be elected president of the United States. Now, if your job, you thought, and Jim Rutenberg did say back in August, the New York Times job and journalist's job now was to defeat Donald Trump. That was the editor of the New York Times confirmed that. If you really think that's true, think about this. Think about what you did. You were trying to help Hillary Clinton defeat Donald Trump because you thought Donald Trump would be such a malignant cancer on our constitutional republic. But you did two things. The first thing you did is you put liberals and Democrats and independents who thought like you put them in a position where they were complacent, where they really did believe, not only in New York, but across America and the world, that Hillary Clinton had a 98.999% chance of being elected president of the United States. So if that's the case, why do I have to go to the phone banks? Why do I have to knock on doors? Why do I have to go out of my house at 7 o'clock at night and get in my car and drive 2 blocks over and talk to a friend who's wavering and sit down and explain to them why Hillary Clinton would be best for that? I don't need to do that.
Why do I have to vote?
You've told me. She's got a 98.99% chance of winning, or a 90% chance of winning if we're talking about the upshot. Poor Nate Silver got slammed for saying she had a 70% chance of winning. You understand that? That's the first thing you did. The second thing you did, which I think you're beginning to understand now from reading Jim Rutenberg's really good penetrating article, is you completely ignored the world, the elite cluster that you don't know. Had a complete blind spot, and you wanted to keep it that way. It was much easier for you to stay in Manhattan and say, you know what, they're only voting for Trump because they're racist and bigots. There's no way he can win because they're all just racist and bigots. Well, if you really do believe that, then you believe that 50 million people in America are racist and bigots. And if you really do believe that, then I take pity on you.
It wasn't fake news or the Russia collusion. It was a group of narcissists with access to a microphone that thought voters, if told enough times, they would believe whatever they were told. Before 2008, media decided to restrict footage of 9/11 attacks to anniversaries. They thought it might trigger Americans. After President Obama got in, we couldn't use the word war anymore. All twisted helplessly to not say radical Islam. They thought it would tell us that Islam was bad, when in fact it obviously meant that all of Islam was not bad, but the radicals were. They treated voters, citizens, as more of a threat than ISIS. Not saying they meant to, but in arrogance they didn't ignore real concerns raised. They treated voters as if they were mental patients and insisted it was in our heads. To quote a Verizon ad, "Can you hear us now?" Sadly, year in, and they still think it was propaganda from Russia. They insult our intelligence instead of looking in the mirror for the answer. It wasn't fake news. It was insane commentary that didn't reflect even their own polls. So how's that apple looking now? It always looked like an apple to me, and I voted for Trump. Joseph Goebbels on The Big Lie. If you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it. The lie can be maintained only for such time as the state can shield the people from the political, economic, and/or military consequences of the lie. I want to point out that he's not talking about citizens, he's actually talking about the people that are spreading the lie. Eventually, the truth will come out, and then citizens won't be happy. It thus becomes vitally important for the state to use all of its powers to repress dissent, for the truth is the mortal enemy of the lie, and thus, by extension, the truth is the greatest enemy of the state.